Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Heather at Red Ibis Coach. I want to tell you today about how you can, if you're interested, study abroad in another country. Here are some reasons why, no matter how old you are and within the limits of certain visas, because it's good to check the age limits of the student visas in the country you want to study in. There are perks to studying in another country. Not only is it almost across the board going to be cheaper to study in another country than it would be in the US, the cost of living is often lower, and they incentivize people to stay and invest in the country because you've already invested in terms of education. Why not stay a year or two or more longer afterward with different visas that allow you to stay in the country and work? I think that this is an extremely pragmatic, but also um, really authentic and reciprocal way to begin living in another country, because you're not just arriving and saying, okay, what are you going to give me? You're actually investing in the education experience, which is often a cultural experience. Sometimes it's a language experience. Usually you're learning about the history or the politics of the country. You're learning more about the geography of the country. You're not just arriving, setting up shop, and asking them what they can give you. So I think it's a really unique way to start living in another country. You also are able to work at least part-time while you study, and you can work full-time hours when the classes are not in session. That's usually the case for most countries and their student visas. So if you're thinking about this possibility, some things to keep in mind are, one, you can apply for the FAFSA in certain countries and get student loans for the programs that you're interested in. This is, of course, once you've applied and been accepted. Um, I did that for the degrees I did in Australia. I did 2 degrees in Australia. I did a graduate diploma of LOTE teaching, which is language other than English teaching, and my focus was Japanese. And then I did a graduate diploma of education, and the focus was primary teaching, which is elementary school teaching. Because I did those programs, I was able to apply for a few different visa options based on the fact that I had already been living there, and there are point systems in Australia. So if you've been studying in Australia, that is favorable in the point system, because they're saying, okay, well, you were interested in our culture, you're interested in staying and spending time and getting to know the country, so you're actually an ideal employee. You can stay longer. So that's an option in Australia. I don't know what the visas are exactly now, so you would definitely have to look into it. But for teachers, there were certain visas at the time that allow for stay beyond your study. This is also the case in Ireland. So I studied in Ireland from 2024 to 2025. I received my degree, master's in applied psychology, in coaching psychology and positive psychology. I got that this year. And they also have a visa that allows you to stay in the country longer, look for work, and ideally get hired by an employer while you're there. This is the case for most countries in Europe. I say most with a huge caveat because things change all the time and you definitely want to look into it. But it seems to be the case every time I'm looking at a country in Europe and looking into the visa process for people who've already studied. There's some kind of visa that allows you to stay in the country longer once you've graduated and see if you find a job that's suitable based on the skills that you learned and earned in your degree. So you have a way to pay for the degree. You have a way to stay longer if you want. You're investing in the country in a way that really shows your interest in the country and is not just a casual dabbling. You're really showing that you want to give it some time and effort. So I think it's a really unique way to put put yourself out there and really immerse yourself in the country and the culture and maybe even the language. You definitely don't want to take this option if you need to make a lot of money. Uh, you can work while you study, but it's not full-time hours. However, often I've seen that the work while you study option gives you full-time options once you've graduated because if you're a good employee, they probably want to hire you on for longer. This microphone is dying, so I will wrap it up here. There's plenty more that I can say in terms of looking for housing and being smart about finding a good situation for you, and you'll know what's right for you in terms of student housing or renting off campus, whether or not you're okay with roommates, and the country will matter in terms of what your options are. So I can make that another video sometime because I do think it is important to keep in mind. And you might not have the option to take out loans. So there's also a video that I will be making eventually about how to pay for your master's degree abroad. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this video interesting or useful. If it is something that you're considering, there is no age cutoff in terms of like if you're, I don't know, 45 years old and you think you can't go back to school, why not? Why not? Most of the people in my program were over the age of 30. Okay, so it's not too late. There are still options. If it's something you want to do, give it a think. You don't have to do it, but it's fun. I recommend it. All right, see you tomorrow.